Welcome to the Lean Blog Podcast. Visit our website at www.leanblog.org. Now, here's your host, Mark Graban.
Hi, this is Mark Graban. This is episode number 105 of the podcast for December 3rd, 2010. I've got two guests today. They are the co-authors of a new book from Productivity Press called Simple Excellence, Organizing and Aligning the Management Team in a Lean Transformation. And those co-authors are Adam Zach of Adam Zach Executive Search and Bill Waddell. He's a consultant and he's well known as a blogger over at the site evolvingexcellence.com. So today we're going to be talking about their new book, their thoughts on lean and leadership and talent development and all sorts of other fun topics. So as always, I hope you enjoy listening. You can go to leanblog.org/105 to get links to both of their websites and links to buy the book. You can find past episodes of this podcast at leanpodcast.org. So I want to thank you for listening. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us, Mark.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I want to let each of you introduce yourself for the listeners. Why don't we start with Adam? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your background with Lean.
Sure. As many people who I've run across in the Lean community know, I do executive search work focused exclusively on recruiting executives with Lean backgrounds for companies either just starting out on their journey or more often these days well into the Lean journey, continuous improvement, Lean transformation. So I've been doing that for, almost 25 years. My background is originally as a financial guy. I'm a CPA by training. Spent some time in venture capital, corporate finance, and helped start a couple of small companies in Silicon Valley many years ago. I got into recruiting quite by accident, helping put management talent into the companies that we were funding. And gradually from there got more and more involved in operations, the operational side of a business. And that led to doing what I do today, which is something I dearly love. It's helping impact organizations by bringing the right talent in at the right time to solve problems. And a lot of those revolve around continuous improvement. So that's what I do.
Well, it sounds like somewhat of a, if you will, accidental path into focusing on Lean, given your background.
Very much so, and it's kind of interesting that a lot of the people that I wind up recruiting, and certainly many of the people that I talk to every day, also followed somewhat, maybe not straight-line paths into their Lean-focused careers. And I don't know that anyone ever grew up wanting to be a Lean expert, if there is such a thing. But we've gotten there, many of us, and we just try to help improve businesses using some very thoughtful, some very sound principles and practices. So it's a great community to be a part of.
Now, turning to Bill, I'm sure a lot of listeners have read you on the Evolving Excellence blog for a number of years. So in a way, I'm tempted to use the cliche that maybe you need no introduction, but for those who aren't familiar with your blog, your writing, why don't you tell us about your background and some of your history with Lean?
Well, Mark, I've been involved in Lean since before it was Lean. Mm-hmm. My roots go back to in the early 1980s when manufacturing was trying to understand what just-in-time was and what it was that Toyota was doing and a number of other companies that were having such a profound impact. And so I've kind of grown up with it. In my career has really pretty much mirrored the evolution of Lean. I've been a Lean consultant and a Lean author for about 15 years now. And I work with a number of companies, really global in scope these days. And as you point out, with Evolving Excellence and with the book we're here to talk about today, I'm probably more passionate about writing about Lean than anything else. And my involvement or interest in Lean has really been kind of a logical progression, beginning with the typical shop floor tools and the Lean techniques that are pretty well known to just about everyone. And then my curiosity took me to lean accounting and performance metrics and the whole management side of lean in an effort to really try to understand what was it that was made it so difficult for so many companies to take those lean tools and go get great results with them. And so really, for the last 5 or 10 years, I've probably been more focused on the management side than on the shop floor side, including pretty heavy involvement in the Lean Accounting Summit and the whole genesis and development of the lean accounting movement, and more in the last year now starting to move on to the sales and marketing side and integrating the whole management team. So I've been involved in lean one way or another, primarily as a consultant for some time now, and I may be that exception to what Adam was talking about. I can't remember when I wasn't involved in lean. I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah, and so I think it's interesting. We've got if you allow me to characterize you as a CPA and a shop floor guy, and paths and kind of fields of focus start to blur and overlap. And maybe that's what led to your collaboration here on the book Simple Excellence. Maybe I'd be curious to hear from one or both of you, what prompted the writing of a book? There's so many books published on lean out there today. What was kind of the driving influence to take on the challenge of writing a book?
Let me start with a quick stab at that, if you will, Mark, because I think that Simple Excellence, organizing and aligning the management team in a lean transformation, ironically, is written in a lean context, but the book is fundamentally not about lean. It's about leadership, it's about change, and it's about sustainability. There are so many books that are written about lean that focus on tools and methodologies, and what Bill and I tried to do is combine our experiences with lean and look at it from the perspective of change management, leadership, and the long term. The long-term effects on a business. So if you even break the title up into its 3 components, Simple Excellence, Organizing and Aligning, and Lean Transformation, I think those are fundamentally the 3 major themes throughout the book. Simple is important because complexity obscures or distorts or masks underlying problems. You cannot be an excellent organization if the complexity weighs too heavily on your business. The second piece, organizing and aligning, that's something businesses do constantly. Large businesses, small businesses, it doesn't matter. And they do that due to some kind of context. So that context could be a merger, or it could be a sale, it could be a new competitive threat in the marketplace. So lean transformation is just the context within which we chose to write about leadership and change management.
I know from my standpoint, the title and the subtitle really get at two themes that more and more are part of my consulting practice. And one of them, the title itself, Simple Excellence. One concern that I've had, or one problem that I've observed, is that far too many organizations are already too complicated, very compartmentalized, and a lot of technology and a lot of reporting and record keeping and complicated management processes. And when they decide to pursue lean or a Six Sigma approach, they end up just layering more complexity over the top of it. Now everyone's got all of their existing complex processes plus a lean steering committee that now they have to deal with, and another set of reports and record keeping. And that's the opposite of what we're really trying to do here. Lean is really about eliminating all of that waste and complexity and clutter and simplifying the business rather than taking it in the other direction. And so it was really an opportunity to try to make that point to a broader audience that the goal here is to make things simple, not to compound the complexity. And the other observation I've made is that many companies that I've talked to and many companies that I see, you'll talk to them and they'll say, yes, we're committed to and we were embarked on a lean strategy. And we've been on this lean strategy, lean journey here for some number of years. But when you sit down and talk to the people in areas like sales and marketing or in human resources or in accounting or in IT, and you talk to the leadership in those areas and ask them now, exactly how has your job changed as a result of this new strategic direction the company's in? The answer, once you boil it all down, is that it really hasn't. That the company-wide lean strategy certainly affects the operations people, and the senior manager is inundated with the requirement to exert some leadership. But beyond that, the rest of the organization usually is pretty much unaffected, and it just doesn't work that way. Everybody has to be involved. And so we saw the book as an opportunity to start to define those roles a little bit, to tell sales and marketing leadership and accounting and IT and engineering HR leadership just what their roles were, that they do need to make some changes in how they go about their business if the company-wide lean strategy is going to succeed. So it's really hammering at those two things. Get everybody on the bus and work towards simplification.
Yeah, so it sounds like one of the key themes is the idea that lean transformation is not lean operations transformation, but you're talking about lean company transformation in an integrated way.
And let me just dovetail a quick remark on top of that one, Mark, because Bill and I have joked on a number of occasions that complexity in a business, quite often we think it should be considered as the eighth waste. And what happens when you bolt lean tools and techniques onto an already very complex organization is quite often you just compound the problem. It's like automating a bad accounting system that isn't giving you good numbers. You just get bad numbers that much more quickly. So the sort of philosophy behind the book is companies need to start not from the lean tools perspective, but what they need to do is take a look at so many great companies, and Bob Chapman comes to mind. They start from purpose and values, and then you end up talking about strategies and principles of which lean then can be a major component. But if you start at the wrong end, you never wind up where you really need to be. So purpose and values first.
And who is Bob Chapman? What company is he from?
Bill, you know him pretty well, so I'll let you take that one.
Well, Bob is the president and chairman of the Barry Waymiller companies, and we drew pretty heavily on what Bob has been preaching and the success that he's had. He's probably the leading cultural leader in a manufacturing organization in the United States today. Just a tremendous leader and a tremendous individual, and accomplishing very, very impressive things with the Barry Waymiller companies. And so we leaned heavily on Bob's thinking. And we've tried to do that throughout the book, not just pure philosophy, what Adam Zach and Bill Waddell think, but tried to draw out a lot of examples from a lot of the very successful companies that we've seen and had an opportunity to get to know one way or the other. And that was really a key part of the collaboration between Adam and I. Just the fact that both of us have been exposed to a lot of leaders, good and bad, and a lot of companies, successful and unsuccessful, and our ability to take all of those inputs and sit down and really determine what are the common traits among the ones that are really getting the job done. And of course, Bob Chapman is right at the head of that pack.
So now, Bill, you had mentioned the idea of wanting to use this book to expose lean and these ideas to new audiences. I mean, do you think this is a book that would be helpful to give as a first read to somebody who is brand new to lean, as opposed to being more of if you will, an advanced text for people who've already been working at it a little while? How do you think the book fits in?
I think it really is a good first text, particularly for middle and upper managers in non-manufacturing roles. The ones that are running the sales and marketing and IT and accounting organizations. An opportunity for them to understand more broadly what lean means to the entire company. Too often people see lean just as a set of factory techniques and tools, and as a result don't see much in it for them. So it was really intended to be a book that could be that first read for a manager who's a little bit confused or curious about what does lean mean to the rest of the company, not just the manufacturing folks.
Yeah, and so I'm sure you touch on topics like accounting and sales and marketing, as you mentioned, Bill. Adam, I'm curious to hear some thoughts from you on maybe the recruiting, hiring, HR, people development side of things. What you cover in the book in that regard.
I think there are two sort of major trains of thought running through the book. One is obviously value streams, and we talk about how everything really needs to be centered around the concept of the value stream. And if you are moving your organization into that direction, that's really going to change how you hire people, the kind of people that you hire. It's going to change how you develop them. It's going to change how you measure and reward their performance. So it's really a very deep cultural transformation that needs to take place. The other thread that runs through the book is the emphasis on lean accounting. It's interesting from my perspective as a CPA who obviously has not practiced for many years, but accounting is supposed to be the language of business. And really what's changed over the last 20 years dramatically is that accounting is now the language of the regulatory environment. So accounting gives information to the IRS for tax purposes. It gives information to the SEC for financial regulatory purposes, but it's gotten away from giving the managers in the business real-time data and information that they need to make adjustments from hour to hour, certainly from day to day. And I think if we start moving even into the period of week to week, you start losing the potential to actually run the business effectively. So that emphasis also, I think, is important. We put all that together, and it means that from a recruiting standpoint, from the very senior-most level all the way down to the shop floor, people, the kind of people that you want to recruit and engage in your business are people who will take on that ownership mentality, and the kind of people who will say, what can I be doing and what should I be doing for the business as a whole, and not thinking along strictly functional lines. So dramatic change, perhaps upsetting some apple carts along the way, but we think that's how you need to run a business, and we think that's how successful businesses of the future will indeed be built.
And Bill, I know you like to upset apple carts. You're not afraid to take on tough issues or interesting things on the blog. Can you talk a little bit about sales and marketing? What are some of the apple carts that you've seen get upset when you really try to be a lean company?
Well, in far too many organizations, in fact, probably the overwhelming majority of organizations, sales and marketing is viewed as almost a separate entity. That here on the one hand we have the folks out selling things, and on the other hand we have the folks who are making things or providing the service. And generally while they phrase it much more eloquently than this, generally the strategy with the sales and marketing people is sell as much as you can of anything you can to whoever you can as soon as you can. And then turning to the delivery side of it, the manufacturing or service providers, and saying, okay, now your job is to chase them up the mountains and down into the valleys and wherever it is the volumes go, and try and keep the costs down. But there's not a coordinated strategy that has everybody on board to determine exactly what are the right volumes, what is the right long-term both volume levels and the supply chains or distribution channels that we should participate in, and having everybody on the same plan to get to the same place. You can't run a factory successfully if the volumes are 20% up this year and 30% down next year, and then back up 20% the next year. You're constantly either way over capacity or under capacity. You're either expediting or shutting down the supply chain. You're hiring people one year and laying them off the next year, and that just doesn't work. And so getting the sales and marketing people to recognize that there's a right volume And the right volume is not necessarily the most that you can sell next month or next year. You need to have sales and marketing tied into a plan for sustained, long-term, steady growth. And that has some profound implications on how they think and what their strategies are, how they're compensated. A lot of implications.
Yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
Well, it really forces the sales and marketing people to come back and get involved with the rest of the business. You know, and in many companies, they don't need to know or care what's going on out in the factory. They just want it at the low. They just want whatever they can get at a low cost, and to be on their own to go out and sell it. So it's a culture shock to the sales and marketing people.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's part of an evolution where, if you look at a product development pipeline, people have learned, hopefully, that it's not a good practice to develop a product in isolation and then just chuck it over the wall to manufacturing. And it sounds like you're advocating from a sales standpoint, just don't go take orders and then chuck them over the wall to figure out, okay, you factory guys, you supply chain people, you figure out how to do this, whether it's the right strategic move or not. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. And a big part of the cost is leveraging all of the fixed costs of the factory. And when a company is pursuing lean and they make a decision that, from now on, we're going to make a commitment to our people. We're not going to lay off people. And we're going to treat them with respect and fully engage them. What that basically means is you've just turned your labor force into a fixed cost. Your payroll is now like your rent and your depreciation. It's set. And so, how you put a price on your products and the volumes that you're going to send across that fixed cost base have a huge impact on how profitable or not profitable you're going to be. Mm-hmm. So sales and marketing has to be the regulating valve that's making sure the right volumes that are increasing at a rate that the factory can handle it are taking place if the company is going to succeed in the long term.
And Adam, did you have something to add on the thought of lean and sales and marketing?
Yeah, it really comes down to, and Bill and I have talked about this many, many times, it comes down to the leadership component. In so many ways, the sales and marketing in a value stream organization, sales and marketing is really the pipeline to the voice of the customer, and we should never lose sight of that.
Well, absolutely. That's the theme we haven't touched on here so far. Is that one of the real key elements of the successful companies that we've seen, and I think successful companies everywhere, is a very keen focus on value. That they're driven by delivering the maximum value to the customers, and their definition of lean is getting rid of everything that's not contributing to that value proposition. And if the company is going to be value driven, that puts a huge responsibility on sales and marketing as being the ones who are very sharply attuned to exactly how the customer is defining value. They need to be the voice of the customer back to the factory, back to the product development people, back to the whole organization, telling them this is what the customers perceive as adding value and this is what doesn't. The company needs to know how the customer defines value, and sales and marketing are the people to do that defining for the rest of the company.
Yeah. Well, Adam Zach and Bill Waddell, it's been really nice talking to you here. The time always flies. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm sure a lot we haven't touched on about the new book, Simple Excellence, Organizing and Aligning the Management Team in a Lean Transformation. Can one of you summarize maybe where best place for people to find out more about the book, where it's available, things like that?
Go ahead, Adam.
Sure. The book is available at the publisher website, which is taylorandfrancis.com, and it's also easily available through Amazon, and I know that Barnes & Noble and at least one or two other online sites are carrying it. The book also has its own website, simpleexcellence.com, so people can read some excerpts and reader comments there. And that website is in the process of being updated over Thanksgiving weekend, so there'll be a lot more information, and we'll link to this blog post as well. I think that's that's pretty much it. You can pretty much find it anywhere. We hope that Amazon takes another delivery quickly because, as we talked earlier, the first shipment was pre-sold before it went online. So we're hoping that Productivity Press gets some additional copies out there very quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Well, thanks for taking time to talk about the book, and be happy to have either of you back. Spend a whole 20 minutes talking about another subject sometime. It would be really good to chat again. But thanks for taking time out today, and I hope you both have a real good Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Same to you, Mark, and thank you for having us.
It was great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Lean Blog Podcast. For Lean news and commentary updated daily, visit www.leanblog.org. If you have any questions or comments about this podcast, email Mark at leanpodcast@gmail.com.